what we have this time is I've got a couple of 328s that I've dug out that I need to go through, and two of them got two different faults. One of them here, it's not been opened by me, and I plugged it in and it says no video. So I'll turn it on and let you guys have a quick look at that. The other one I got has got issues with the keyboard, and there's certain keys that I've got on here that don't work. So it boots up. Other than that, it's just that some of the keys aren't working, which I think that's going to be an easier fix. What I'll do is I'll plug this one in, and I can then flip you around so you can actually see what it does on the screen. I'll just turn the power on. Now that's all it gets on the screen, there's nothing else. So I think we need to open it up and have a look, and then possibly just check for a couple of things to see if we've got signals going in certain places. Alright, so I'll put you back up, turn that off, and we'll get back to it. Right, so I've got this one here. I'll just turn the power off on that, unplug it. Now this one is one of part of a lot I picked up from a deceased estate up north a few years back, and a lot of the stuff I haven't had a chance to get to. I'm just doing it now. This one, these were kept in a garage underneath the house, so they'd been in a bit of a damp environment. Now I've gone through and pulled the screws out of the bottom of this beforehand, because when I looked at it I noticed the heads looked a bit rusty, and this is one thing you need to do with these, is check that out first. And as I found out, all the heads on all of these screws are really rusty. Now some of those I was lucky enough I could get a flat blade down inside to unscrew them, because the heads were that worn on them I couldn't get the Phillips screwdriver into there. So I'm going to have a look for some new replacement screws for these, and I should be able to get them easy enough, if not off AliExpress, off Temu or Wish or somewhere like that. So yeah, that sort of stuff, they should be easy enough to get. They're just a self-tapping screw. I just need to measure the thread width and get some. So I think it's a good thing to have, because some of these machines, when you get them, they are missing screws and things like that. So it's a good thing to hang on to, is the odd screw. I also get a pile of them when I strip things down, but it's getting enough of the same size. That's a problem. Unless you've got a few of the same thing to strip down, that's the problem, is getting enough of the same size. Usually you can buy these in kits. Now, these are the metal screws, the nuts and bolts, and you can buy these in kits as well. These from AliExpress. So you can get the screws in the same, and you can get them in, this is a black anodized metal, and you can get just normal nickel, normal grey coloured, or silver plated, which is chrome plated, or you can get stainless steel, or you can get all types. So I'll have to have a look and see if I can actually get some chrome ones of those, or if not chrome, I'll get the black. So those are screws I took. As I said, I took them out because I noticed the heads were all rusty on them, and I thought it's the last thing I want to be mucking around trying to undo on camera. So I got those out, and as I said, I was lucky. If you do get them where they won't come out, the only other way you can do it is to get your a Dremel or a battery drill, and get a pile of different sized drill bits. You can buy them in kits, and they go from 1mm all the way up to about 4mm, 5mm. And what you're going to have to do is start with the smallest one, drill down into the head, and then go the next size, then the next size, then the next size. Don't drill too deeply down, because you're only trying to get the head to come off, and then you can get a set of pliers with that in it to screw the rest of it out when you take the case off. So that's because they're so deep, you can't get in there to do anything with them. So that's the easiest way I've found of taking these out, and you just need to draw them out, and you get out to about a 4 or 4.5 mil, and you'll get to that point where you can probably get it off without causing any damage. But the best thing is if you haven't done so, check those first, and if they are looking rusty, replace them. If they're still good nick but just a little bit rusty, probably putting them some de-rust or something like that, or rust killer or rust remover. Soak them in that, and then give them a good coat of something that's going to stop them from rusting, and put them back in. But I find it, for the odd couple of cents a screw, just replace them. So I'll get a container for those. Now we've got to find a container, he says. We'll put them down the hole for now. Right, so now I'll just lift this up. Now I don't need to take the video and the audio out of the back because they're in the bottom part of the case. And yeah, as you can see, this hasn't been done. I haven't done this one because it's still got this cable connector on it. I mean, other than that, it looks pretty tidy inside. But yeah, so I mean, need to go through, clean off some of this gunk off of the board where they put this hot glue, and I think we need to look at taking some signals from over here to see if we have a video out on the RGB, and if we do, then it'll be on this board, and it could be one of the combiner chips or one of the transistors that are gone. If we don't, then it could be over this side somewhere. And this is nice. For some reason this may have been back to the factory and had the ULA replaced in this. So this is really nice. You don't often see them like this because most of the ULAs were actually soldered into the board. So that's actually quite nice that that ULA is actually a plug-in one, because these are not made anymore, and the problem is that when these die, and these do die over time, you can't get replacements for it. So the machine is basically of not much use unless somebody else wants it for parts.
2.
Stand by for action.
1.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
Stuff to do. But anyway, I think, yes, we need to look at the video side of this. So I'll need to set up the scope and everything, and let's see if we can get anything out of the scope and see if there's any life on this video processor, because that could be the other thing. The video processor could have died, and if the video processor has died, it's one of the originals, so it's soldered into the board, so that means the board's got to come out. So that's why I'd rather probe on here first on the header to see if there's any life coming into this, and that it's not the combiner chip that's gone. So yeah, I think I will try that first and just see what we can get out of that. Alright, so I will sort that out and we'll get back to it. Right, so what I will do is I'll pop you around, and I've got the machine powered on and the scope on, and from what I can see, we do have a signal on each of the video outs. Sorry, so there. So that's the third one. So that's the Y, and then we have the RY, and then the last one is the BY. Sorry. So we do have all three of those signals, and there is a clock signal too, which I have to readjust the scope for to get that. All those are actually there. It's telling me that there is signal going. Right, so that's telling me that there are signals going to the video outboard. We should be getting some form of a picture. The only thing I can think of is that there is a TBA 520 chip on here. They can go, and it could also be one of the transistors on here as well. I'm not 100% sure if I've got the transistors for this, but I can have a look and maybe have an equivalent. But I do have some of these chips. I actually got some a little while ago, so I'll have a hunt for those and get those out. I'm going to change this to the standard way I do it with the DuPont connectors, with the JTS connectors that I make up, cable across, and I'm going to do the same with the keyboard as well, because the keyboard's not being done. It seems to work okay, but it doesn't hurt giving it a clean, just as long as you're gentle with them and don't destroy anything. And I'm going to do up a new ribbon cable for it too. As I say, I don't like these, so I'm going to do up a header connector for that as well. So you've seen me do that before, so you don't need to sit down and watch me do the connectors. As we've taken these out, I'm just going to cut it in half, and then it's easier to desolder the two halves out. That way I can get this board out and have a look at it. Take this one off. This is just a ground lead, and I'm going to put a jumper on here for ground. I usually leave that wire on and just crimp on a connector on this end, and I put a pin in here for the earth, and just have it plug on. You could, if you wanted to, probably put it through an earthing point, but some of the stuff is hot ground to be aware of, so it's live. It's only 5 and 12 volts, but it's something to be wary of, because you don't want to be touching it and then touch something else and then cause an issue. Alright, anyway, I will cut this out, desolder this, and take this board out, and I will see if I've got the parts for it, and then we'll get back to it. So as I say, guys, just a pair of scissors, and I just go up and I just cut through the middle of that cable, and I'm going to do the same with this, because I'm going to do one for up here. This one I may leave at the minute. If I can fix this, I'll make sure the whole thing is working first and that there's not something else wrong with it, and then if it's working, then I'll do this front cable. I don't want to cause two issues. As with everything, one at a time. I'm probably going to have to take the board out to take this off anyway, but I could use some little edges of this as the headers for the pins to go onto for now. It won't hurt. Or I could even just bridge them back together and solder them on. I'll see how I go. If need be, as I say, just cut them, and they are out. Alright, so I will see if I can find these parts now. Now, one thing I did notice is that this variable resistor here for the RY signal was a bit loose and wiggled around when I rocked it. And I noticed when I did that on the back here, the copper track moves up and down, like it's delaminated from the board, so it's moving up and down, wiggling. I've done a continuity test from there to here, and the track seems to be fine. So it's things like that you got to look for as well. There could be broken joints, dry joints, fractures, things like that. But as you can see under here, something's been living in here at some stage. That will not do anything nice to the circuitry underneath there if it got damp. So I'm going to give this all a good clean. That's the switch for setting your channel, whether it's channel 3 or channel 4 for your TV. A lot of these now you can't use them on your modern TVs through the TV tuner part, because it's the modern TVs don't go to the right channels that they need. So a lot of them now, that's why it's really good that these have audio and video out on them. Though the audio is only mono, you can make up a 2-to-1 splitter for that, or you can actually buy them. You can buy the combiners and expanders for that, and you can get a 1-to-2, which you can plug into your TV, which gives you the stereo sound on left and right, even though it is only mono. But you can get your video out, and that works fine. The other option you got with these, as in my earlier videos you'll see, There's the TN VDP, which gives you an HDMI output for your SVI-328 318. You have to remove the video processor, and then I put a socket in, and it replaces this with a Tang Nano, and you can put it in as a 9918, a 28, a 29, or a 38 into these. The thing with the 38 is that if you don't have the memory and that for it, you won't get the other screens, but you'll get some of the 38 compatibility. Yeah, and it's as fast as the standard 99182829s. It's as fast as those. And the nice thing is if you take a line off your audio chip, you'll get sound out over the HDMI as well, and it's really nice sound apparently. I haven't done it yet. There's a couple of guys I know of have done it, and they've said the sound is really, really good. I have another one which I was waiting to finish the Tang Nano because I had to wait for some low voltage level shifters to come in to finish that one off because I'd run out and the extras I had were actually faulty. So I had to wait until I got some more of those in to do those, and they've come in. So I mean, that'd be another thing we can do. We can actually do a bit of a video on that, running through the HDMI with the sound and everything. But way better picture, guys, way better picture. And the Tang Nano has an option with the jumpers. You can get the scan lines if you want it, so you can get that really retro feel. The only issue is you got to open the case up to do that. But anyway, I will get on with this now. I have a few of these that I think have dead PLAs on them, which can't get anymore. I should actually redo a few of these boards up so they're working with the header pins and that on it. So I get them where they come in with issues like this. I can just drop one in and make sure it works. I'm pretty sure I've got the transistors. They're a 90154L C5, and I'm pretty sure I got some of those in for another machine I did, and I've got some of these TBAs as well. I will dig those out and take the chip and the transistor out and test them to see if they are faulty. If they're not faulty, I put sockets in anyway, not for the transistors but for the IC, so if anything happens at a later date, it's easier to replace it than it is to actually try and re-desolder, because these boards are getting older. The more times you solder and desolder them, the more likely you're going to lose a pad or a track or something like that. So I find if you're going to do it, and that's why with these, put a header strip on them, make a set of pins that plugs in, plugs out. It makes life so much easier. I'm going to look at doing that. I will do that, and when I find my bits, we'll come back to it and we'll do this. So, see you shortly. I've got the board out. I've taken this header off of this board. Now, I've taken one out of one of the ones I've done myself, and I tried this one while I still had the pins sticking out of the other main board. While I still had the pins, the wires sticking out of here, I put them into the females on this one, and this one's a working one, and when I put it in, it didn't work. It still had the same issue. It's going to be something in on here that's got a problem. Just putting this header pin in here on the motherboard so that I can do the same upgrade on this one as I did my good one, and then what I can do is try that in my good one as well and see if that works. If you haven't seen it, I'm just going to go through and do it, so I'll show you here again what I'm doing. So what I have is I got a set of the DuPonts and a crimping tool for it. And you can buy these as a kit on AliExpress, fairly cheap. Keep an eye out when they got the sales on for those. And the nice thing with the DuPonts is they come with male and females. The thing is, the holes that these go into are very small. They're smaller than a normal header pin connector. But you can, if you finesse them, you'll get them to go in. Then I solder the backs of them, and then I can do a continuity check from this side to the pins to make sure the power is getting through to them, and those all work out fine. Now with these, the pins are a finer pitch on the ends of these. So what I do is get a bit of old ribbon cable, and you need 13 channels on it, and I crimp each one of these on one of these channels, and then I pop them into the header. And then when I do that, then they'll fit through these holes on the board and solder them on. And so it looks like that. So they solder through, and you get that nice connector on there, which is not going to go anywhere and cause any issues. And you can read everything down behind it. And then I put the females on this end, which then plug into the headers on the board. And this just means if you need to do any work on it, you can unplug it and take it off. This one here, I put a single one on that, and I put a pin on the board down here where it's generally soldered onto earth. I put a pin in it, and I use that so it can then plug into that earth. It's only an earthing pin, so I use it for that. You could also make it and take it to where there's an earth on the board and screw it onto that if you want to. Just as easy to plug it in and unplug it. So I'm just going to go along and do that. For you that haven't seen it, I will run it through and I'll just fast forward it for you so you can see what I'm doing and see what it looks like when I'm finished. So I'll do that. I don't need to solder it until the very end where I go solder it into the board. So it's basically just making this cable up, and they go pin for pin when you're doing it, so 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, etc. So when you do them, you just make sure that when you plug them in, they're all on the same orientation. I usually do it with a piece with a colour stripe on it, so I know which is pin 1, and it's just up to you to which way you work out as pin 1 and which is not. But if you do them in a row, then when they go on one board, they'll come across and they'll go directly into the other, and you can solder them in. They should be straightforward. Alright, so I've got my 13 sorted there. 2 extras I don't need, but we'll keep those because you never go without needing a little bit of wire for something. And I will carry on with this and do this. And there we go, guys. So those are both ends of those are done up. I've tried to do it in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. On these connectors, there's a little wee connector on the end here that pops into the, when you crimp the plugs or the pins, there's a little square edge, and that's what locks it in so it doesn't pull back out of these. So you got to push it down. Sometimes I find if you don't crimp them right and they get a bit flattened, you might have to use the end of a screwdriver or something. Just give it a push down so it goes, and you'll feel it go click, and that's when they're locked in. So, but as you can see, this makes it a lot nicer and tidier setup. And as I said, so when these go in, we either go that way across, whichever way our header is. So we go that way, or we can turn it over and go that way. Depends on what way you want to do it, so it doesn't really matter. So on one of these, one of them will go on here, and then the other one will just plug into the headers on this side, and I just have to put a single one on here and put a pin on there. So the hardest part to this is just now poking these in and soldering them. There's not really a lot to that part. So I'll do that. I will crimp this one up as well. You don't need to see me solder this on. And then we'll start having a look at the board and see what we can find out what's going on with that. Alright? So I'll see you shortly. So as you can see here, I mean, they push through nice and easy. And it makes it a nicer fit on there like that. So now I just got to solder those up. Trim the pins off. They don't need to be that long. Trim them off, but it is going into plastic at the bottom, so they're not going to short on anything. So it's up to you if you leave them in or take them out. Right, so I'm just going to mark these so I know which one goes with which. So what we can do is we can probably plug this back in, try it out and see if we get anything or not. If we don't, I'll plug the other one in, we can try it out, just so you can see that what I was saying is that it's not working on these, and the other one is working fine. It's just the keyboard's a bit dodgy on it. So we'll give that a go and see how we come about. Okay guys, so I have got the board plugged up. That's the original one with the one mark on it. I'll turn it on. Nothing. No, we get nothing. There's nothing on the screen at all. I'll just flip you around with the little camera because it's easier. But as you can see, there's nothing on the screen at all. So what I'll do is I'll turn it off, I'll pop the other one on, and we'll just see if that one makes a difference. And now this unit here with the 2 marks on it, this is out of a working one. This one was working. This is the one that gave a picture, but the keys were playing up on it. So there's the odd key that wasn't working. That on, put that on. And as I said, the cables are pin for pin. So as long as you put them on the same way, pin for pin, it'll be fine. Right, that in, done. Yeah, we got a beep. No, got no. So it is obviously on the board because it's yeah, still getting no picture on the screen, even though it beeps for us. So I'm picking it something more into the board that's got a problem. So we're gonna have to have a look. It could be RAM or something along those lines. So it'll be something else inside here that's may have an issue. The other thing to do is check the voltages and things like that. So yeah, so this has definitely got another issue with it. What I'll do is I'll try this board out of this machine on the other one and see if it gives me a picture. If it does, then it's definitely that one that's an issue. So what I'll do is I will shut it down and unplug it all, and I'll get the other one. Before I do that, just something, I don't know if any of you guys that are in Spectra Video Gear is interested, but I made a breakout board. Now these are breakout board that go onto the expansion on the back of the Spectra Video on the 328-328s. Plugs into there. It gives you the expansion port on the back, but it gives you all the header pins for all the connectors. And this is at both ends. And so this is just for like if you want to pull pins off or something and play around. Now I've made these boards up. They're cheap. They're under the 100mm, so you can get them cheap. And if you are interested, let me know, and I'll put them up on PCBWay's shared projects. And all you need are header pins, and I just got edge connectors. Like you buy them in lots, like this, through AliExpress or that. And these are through hole ones. And all I did was I just squeezed the pins in a little bit, and then just soldered them to either side of the board. Now I have all the tracks on either side of the board, so it tells you what pins are where. So you can find out what connections are on this side, what are on that side. And each of these connections goes to one of these rows of pins. And it also has the pin number and the designation on it. So you can work out what is what on each of those pins. So if anyone's interested in those, let me know, and I'll stick them up on PCBWay under shared projects. The other one I have put up there just recently is the one for the SCSI relocation board. That's up on there as well. So if anyone wants that to do an old Mac Classic, if they want to take the chip off the main board so that they can have an internal SCSI, then that just relocates it up into beside the floppy drive, and then you can run an internal hard drive if you want to. If you're feeling brave enough to do it, because you've got to desolder the chip off the motherboard. So just be warned on that. Now, I was looking at some time ago of rebuilding the Spectra videos and making a more modern version of them. And I put that on the back burner a little bit, but as of late I've sort of been talking to a few people, and it might be something I'd look at bringing back up again. And I was looking at trying to make it as close to the original as in workability, but maybe have some of the other options built in. That would be like a disk drive of types, but it wouldn't be the old style floppy disk drives. It would probably be SD card or USB or something like that. Also, it'll be standard voltage in, and then internally it'll split the voltages down to plus and minus 12s and 5 volts and that internally, so that anywhere in the world you could plug it in and get it. And we'd probably run either a VGA or a HDMI out on it. So, and those were the things I was playing around looking at, and I've got a little bit of stuff sorted out that I was going to do. But as I said, it's just time, and I'm not that... to get rid of a lot of the glue logic, you had to go to FPGA, and I'm not a great one for coding, so that's the side of it that lets me down. But it's something I'm looking at. If anybody's interested in working on the same thing, in the comments below, drop me a message or that and let me know, and we could have a look at doing something along those lines. I mean, I'd like to get something that's in a smaller version reproduction of one of these, whether it's its own keyboard or whether there's one which will have a PS2 keyboard interface, so it's more common to get keyboards and it's not another expense. Something along those lines. So yeah, I mean, it's something that's it's food for thought, but something I can look at a later date when I've run when I've run out of stuff to do. But anyway, yeah, if you're interested, let me know. Anyway, guys, any suggestions, let me know. But until next time, have a great day, have a great week. Until next time, ciao.